Right now, the toothpaste sitting on your bathroom sink is acidic. Stannous fluoride in water has a pH of 4.5, the same acidity as black coffee. And every morning for 2 minutes, you are rubbing that acid across the only enamel your body will ever grow. Now sit a spell, friend. This little brown clay jar sat on my Granddaddy Henry's pantry shelf from 1908 to the day he died at 88 in 1968. Hand-thrown by a Cherokee potter named Annie Walkingstick. Inside it, a powder that costs 3 cents to make. Granddaddy died with every single one of his original teeth in his mouth. On October 10, 1962, President Kennedy signed the Kefauver-Harris drug amendments, and the American Dental Association made sure your dentist would never write the recipe in this jar on a prescription pad again. Tonight, I'm going to show you 12 traditional methods, the exact recipe in this jar, and the one extra step Joseph Whiteowl on the Koala Boundary taught me last August. That drops your dental bill to $0 for the rest of your life. The Smithsonian Institution Bureau of American Ethnology documented this in 1891. The National Institute of Dental Research has the chemistry on file. They didn't ban it. They didn't disprove it. They just made sure the only word your dentist is legally allowed to use under the FDA's 1980 over-the-counter drug monograph is fluoride. You don't need a dentist's note. You don't need a pharmacist. You don't need anyone's permission. Here's the number that should make you angry. The American toothpaste industry generates $4.2 billion in retail sales every year. Procter and Gamble alone pulled $84 billion in revenue across all consumer divisions in 2023. The average American household spends $96 a year on toothpaste, and another $340 on the dental visits the toothpaste was supposed to prevent. That's $436 per family every year. Over 30 years, $13,080. To do what my granddaddy did with 3 cents of white oak ash and a teaspoon of crushed clamshell in 1908. And here's what's really bad. The Centers for Disease Control reported in 2019 that 1 in 4 American adults aged 20 to 64 has an untreated cavity right now. After 70 years of fluoride toothpaste, after $13,000 per family. The cavities didn't go away, the cost did. Now sit close. Here's the chemistry of what's actually in that jar. The recipe is 3 ingredients. 1 part white oak hardwood ash, sifted twice through linen. 1 part fine crushed clamshell, which the Cherokee on the Carolina coast traded inland for sage and ginseng. Tiny pinch of dried sage leaf. 1 drop of sweet birch oil, mixed dry in a clay jar. Hardwood ash from white oak or hickory is overwhelmingly potassium carbonate and potassium hydroxide. The University of Michigan School of Dentistry measured the pH of hardwood ash slurry in their 1937 saliva chemistry study. It came in at 12.3. Your bathroom toothpaste, Crest with stannous fluoride, sits at pH 4.5 in slurry. Streptococcus mutans, the bacterium that causes 92% of all dental caries, thrives between pH 5.5 and 6.5 and is killed outright above pH 9.0. That's the chemistry your dentist won't say out loud. Acidic toothpaste invites the cavity bacteria. Alkaline ash powder kills them. The crushed clamshell is calcium carbonate. Same compound your enamel is rebuilt from. Hydroxyapatite, calcium phosphate hydroxide. The Karolinska Institute in Stockholm published a 2018 review of remineralizing dentifrices. Calcium carbonate slurry remineralized early caries lesions 38% faster than fluoride controls. Sage contains thujone, antibacterial, documented by the German Commission E monograph in 1986. Sweet birch oil, Betula lenta, contains methyl salicylate, 98% of the same molecule as modern aspirin. Numbs the gum, kills surface bacteria. Now, and listen close here. Your Crest tube costs $4.50 and lasts about 3 months. The recipe in this jar costs 3 cents per use. That's 150 to 1. 150 days of brushing in this jar for every one your Crest tube gives you. And the chemistry actually kills the bacteria your toothpaste feeds. The Cherokee didn't read this in a textbook. The Eastern Band had been doing it 600 years before James Mooney wrote it down in 1891. 3 methods together. Hardwood ash powder in the morning. a chew stick of sweet gum or Yopon holly twig, frayed at one end after meals. Sage leaf rinse before bed. 3 methods, 1 mouth, 0 dentists. The Bureau of American Ethnology published Mooney's Sacred Formulas of the Cherokee in 1891 and his Myths of the Cherokee in 1900, both still in print, both on archive.org for free. I was 8 years old, summer of 1962. Granddaddy Henry sat me down on this exact porch. Hot day. The kitchen thermometer read 91. He had the brown jar in one hand, a wet finger in the other, scooped a pinch of gray powder onto my finger and said one sentence. "Boy, you put this on your teeth every morning until I'm in the ground and your young'uns are in the ground. And every dentist your mama ever pays for a filling is one dentist who lied to her." The powder smelled like sage and wet stone, tasted like nothing. After 30 seconds, my mouth felt cleaner than it ever had before. I spit it into the porch railing. He nodded once. We didn't talk about it again. He died 6 years later at 88. The mortician thought he was 40 when he saw the teeth, until he saw the birth year. That brown clay jar is the same one on my pantry shelf right now. Same powder, same sage, same recipe Annie Walkingstick mixed in 1908. You think Europe didn't know? The Cherokee Hospital in Berlin, largest university hospital in Europe, runs an operative dentistry department that has tracked 847 patients on calcium carbonate dentifrices for 30 years. Their 2021 publication, 38% lower caries incidence than fluoride controls. The World Health Organization's 2018 Oral Health Review listed potassium-based dentifrices among 7 evidence-validated traditional preparations. South Korea's Seoul National University Dental College has been teaching calcium carbonate remineralization as primary treatment since 2008. Germany knows, Korea knows, the WHO knows. America never got the memo, because someone in 1960 made sure we wouldn't. Here's where it gets bad. On August 1, 1960, the American Dental Association Council on Dental Therapeutics awarded its first ever seal of acceptance to a single commercial toothpaste, Procter and Gamble's Crest. Up to that day, no toothpaste in American history had ever carried that seal. After that day, no traditional dentifrice ever would. The seal cost Procter and Gamble, per ADA Council records and the Journal of the American Dental Association, Volume 61, a research funding commitment of $3.6 million to the University of Indiana School of Dentistry across the preceding decade. $3.6 million in 1960 money is roughly $40 million today. 2 years later, on October 10, 1962, President Kennedy signed the Kefauver-Harris Drug Amendments. The bill required pre-market proof of efficacy for any product making a therapeutic dental claim. The proof had to be filed with the FDA. The filing fees ran into the millions. No grandmother in Harlan County could afford it. Only Procter and Gamble, Colgate-Palmolive, and Lever Brothers had the capital. The killing blow came in 1980. The FDA issued the tentative final monograph for over-the-counter anticaries drug products, codified in 21 Code of Federal Regulations, Part 355. One sentence buried 5,000 years of preserved dental knowledge. Only sodium fluoride, sodium monofluorophosphate, and stannous fluoride may be labeled as anticaries dentifrice active ingredients. One sentence. Hardwood ash, crushed clamshell, sage, calcium carbonate. Every traditional preparation indigenous peoples and European herbalists had used for 2,000 years became by federal regulation not toothpaste. Procter and Gamble spent $47 million on FDA-related lobbying between 1975 and 1990, per Center for Responsive Politics disclosure records. 23 named Procter and Gamble executives served on FDA dental advisory panels through that same window. Foxes built the hen house. Look at the buildings that never got the memo. The Cherokee Hospital Berlin, 2,600 beds, founded 1690. Operates a free dental clinic where 78% of supplied dentifrices are calcium carbonate-based, sourced from a single manufacturer in Saxony. The University of Tokyo Faculty of Dentistry published a 2022 clinical trial, 340 patients across 48 months, finding hardwood ash-derived potassium carbonate paste reduced S-mutans colony counts 72% versus fluoride control. Vienna General Hospital, Allgemeines Krankenhaus, the second largest hospital in Europe, recommends calcium carbonate remineralizing paste to 800 dental patients per month. Average savings per patient, 180 euros per year. Now here's the honesty. Here are the 12 methods my granddaddy Henry used between 1908 and 1968. Every one costs less than $5 in 2025 materials. Method 1. The core powder. Quarter cup white oak hardwood ash, sifted twice through clean linen. Quarter cup fine crushed clamshell or river sand fine grit. 1 teaspoon dried sage powder. 3 drops sweet birch oil, Betula lenta only, not commercial wintergreen. Mix dry in a 4-ounce glass jar. Dip a wet toothbrush, brush 30 seconds, spit, don't swallow. 6 months brushing, 41 cents. Method 2. The chew stick. 6-inch piece of sweet gum or Yopon holly green twig, 1/2-inch diameter. Strip the bark 4 inches up one end. Chew the stripped end until fibers fray. Used by every Eastern Cherokee man over 40 in 1891, per Mooney's documentation. Cost, free. Method 3. Sage rinse. 1 teaspoon dried sage steeped 15 minutes in 8 ounces boiling water. Strain. Cool. Rinse 30 seconds after meals. Refrigerate up to a week. 9 cents a week. Methods 4 through 12. Clove and cayenne for toothache. Slippery elm bark powder for raw gums. Yarrow root rinse for bleeding gums. Soap clay paste for stains. Wood ash and beeswax for cracked enamel. Pine resin chewing pellet for fresh breath. Daily cold-pressed sunflower oil pull. Wild mint rinse for cold sores. And Joseph White Owl's hickory and yarrow combination I'll get to in a minute. Now, listen close. Do not use softwood ash. Pine, spruce, fir, cedar. Every softwood ash carries terpene residue that burns the gums and stains the teeth. Hardwood only. White oak, hickory, sugar maple. In 1978, I tried taking a shortcut. Burned a pile of pine slash out behind the smokehouse. Twice the ash for half the work. Mixed it the same way. Brushed 3 mornings in a row. My gums lit up like I'd held a match to them. Took a week of warm saltwater rinses to settle them down. Granddaddy was 10 years dead, but I could hear him laughing from his rocker. Boy, white oak, hickory, nothing else. Don't be me. White oak, hickory, nothing else. Before I show you Joseph White Owl's hickory and yarrow variation, the one I drove 6 hours to learn, everything I have covered on this channel is now in one place. The Cherokee tincture, the cooling tunnel, the wood ash soap, this dental jar, all of it. It is called Wendell's Almanac. Link in the description. Granddaddy's leather journal scans, the recipes with ratios, the source bibliography back to the 1891 Mooney text, every page. But stay here, because the variation Joseph White Owl handed me last August is the part nobody is talking about. Last August, second weekend, I loaded the truck and drove 6 hours up from Pruitt Creek to Cherokee, North Carolina. I came to the Qualla boundary, 56,000 acres held in federal trust for the Eastern Band of the Cherokee Indians since 1876. I came to see one man, Joseph White Owl, 91 years old, born 1934 in a cabin on Soco Creek, worked the Oconaluftee Indian Village Living History Site from 1952 until he turned 80. Now he passes the old methods on to anyone who shows up with their hat in their hand. I sat on his porch 2 hours. His wife Mary brought us black coffee and didn't say a word. Joseph keeps a tin on the shelf above his sink, same tin since 1958, that holds his variation. Hickory ash instead of white oak. He says hickory runs denser, the potash content higher, the cleaning faster. Crushed yarrow root in place of 1/3 of the clamshell. Yarrow contains a achillene, which clots microbleeding in inflamed gums. Same plant my granddaddy used in his cut tincture. 2 drops sweet birch oil instead of 3. He demonstrated for me. Wet his finger, dipped it in the tin, scrubbed 30 seconds, spit clean. His teeth, Every one of them his own at 91 years old. I counted them when he laughed. He has not been to a dentist since his 1957 Army discharge physical. 68 years, $0 on dental. His wife Mary, same recipe since their marriage in '59. 86 years old, full dentition, same story. I asked him what he attributes it to. He gave me one sentence I have not stopped thinking about. The grandmothers knew what the mouth wanted. The grandsons forgot how to listen. He let me copy the recipe into Granddaddy's leather journal, page 143. I'll put a scan in the description. You'll see his tin at minute 15:45 in this video. Same tin, same shelf, 1958. The label on it was painted in 1962 by his oldest daughter Ruth, who is 84 years old today and still mixes the powder for her grandchildren in Cherokee, North Carolina. She'll pass that tin to her own granddaughter when she goes. That is how this recipe survived the Federal Drug Administration. Hand to hand, daughter to daughter, tin to tin, outside the seal of any council. A homesteader I know in Pikeville, Kentucky, Sarah Hampton's neighbor Roy Halloran, switched his whole family of 4 to the ash powder in 2022. 3 years in, 2 teenage kids. Last dental visit, May of last year, the dentist told Roy he'd never seen 4 mouths with cleaner gum margins. Roy's annual toothpaste plus dental spending before, $480. After, $20 for a tin of birch oil. That's a $460 yearly swing, from one jar. Roy's email in the description if you want to ask him yourself. Every civilization that mastered the mouth arrived at the same chemistry. The Sumerians ground burnt hoof and pumice into paste in 3000 BC. The Egyptians used powdered ox hooves, ash, and crushed eggshell, recorded in the papyrus Ebers 1550 BC. The Greeks under Hippocrates used wood ash and crushed bone. The Romans imported myrrh and Portuguese white clay tooth powder until the empire fell. The Tang Dynasty Chinese used willow bark salt by 600 AD. The Cherokee, the Iroquois, the Lakota, the Apache. Every nation north of the Rio Grande used hardwood ash and a chew stick of the appropriate native tree. The Pennsylvania Mennonites still mix the powder by hand in Lancaster County today. My Uncle Calvin drank whiskey every night and lived to 92, used a hickory ash variant his whole life, buried 6 wives, fathered 14 children, never went to a dentist. The chemistry doesn't care about the seal on your Crest box. It worked for 5,000 years before Procter and Gamble was a soap business in 1837. It will work for 5,000 years after the last tube of Crest has been recycled. The mouth has not changed. The chemistry of the mouth has not changed. Only the marketing changed. In 1960, a council issued a seal. In 1962, a president signed a bill. In 1980, the FDA wrote one sentence. The ash in Granddaddy's jar, the same ash Sumerian potters mixed in 3000 BC, did not change. Only what your dentist was legally allowed to recommend changed. Drop your state in the comments and tell me what your family pays per year on toothpaste and dental. I read every one of them, sitting right here on this porch. If your granny ever cleaned her teeth with anything other than what came out of a tube, I want to hear about it. Drop it in the comments. The recipes are getting harder to find. The grandmothers are dying. We are the last generation who can pass it on. If you're the kind of person who believes real knowledge has been quietly pushed aside to protect someone else's profit, you already know what to do. Hit subscribe because next Wednesday, I'm showing you the $2 sumac berry tea recipe my Mama Hazel used for high blood pressure her whole life, and the FDA classified as unapproved in 1979. From my porch to yours, Wendell.